Hey, thanks for joining me. In this video I'm going to cover how I got this beautiful 4cm thick cherry worktop, completely resanded, flattened and sorted. It's got cracks and stains and the current finish really needs a good work over. So I start by using a card scraper. This is a great tool to get rid of the existing finish. And then the laborious task of sanding down through the grit. I'm starting here with 40 grit because it really is very uneven. Going from 40, 60, 80 and then stopping at 120. So here you can see I'm just using the rotax, which has a great belt sander rotax mode on it. The previous owner of the house who built this top had obviously covered and filled the existing cracks and gaps with an epoxy, but I think what's happened is that the epoxy has come away and then food and moisture has got in there and the crack has essentially expanded and swollen. So here I'm chopping out all of the loose wood and trying to get as deep as I can, getting all the old epoxy out. And here you can see it's a bit of a weak part, so I just decided to cut it all out. And I've done that to 3 or 4 of the large cracks in the table. So I'm using a 2-part epoxy, and I like darkening it with a black pigment. It's super important to make sure that you get that epoxy really well mixed. And then here I'm just pouring this straight into the cracks. It's really important to get the stick there and spread it out to the sides to make sure it gets a good bond. And later I go back on this one and cover the small parts, those cracks that you can see. And getting rid of those bubbles, the easiest way is just to take a torch and get that off. So I've left that for 24 hours and that's completely dried and hardened. You can sand the epoxy back, but I find it clogs the paper up, so I generally use a block plane just to take the bulk of the epoxy down to just above the level of the wood, and then I can finish the job with the sander, which doesn't take very long at all, and it gets that nice and flat. Okay, so this is now down to we're down to 180 now, and I'm raising the grain, so I'm spraying water on the wood to prevent it being raised by getting wet in any other circumstance. So I've sprayed water, let it dry, and here I'm going back. So I'm starting with 120 and then 180, and then I'm going up to 240. So I'm using the Polyx Oil from OSMO, the clear satin, which I think is the most popular product of theirs. They say to leave it on quite thin, but I like to use the first layer quite thick, and I think it gives the wood the best chance possible to absorb as much of that wood. I've had patching problems before, so here I'm just using this 3M scotch-rite white pad just to apply it in a circular motion, getting it into all those areas. Yeah, so that's the first layer. This will be the first of 3. And so I pretty thick, leave it on there for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I come back with a clean pad, and again I'm working it into the grain. I think this is one of the reasons why this technique works well, is that's what you're essentially doing is smoothing out that top layer there. And then for the first layer I tend to just put a new scotch-rite pad on the bottom of the rotax and just let that spin along, get that in. Okay, so after 10 minutes I'm coming back with a cloth and just wiping off some of the excess. There isn't a lot, but there's a little bit there. So I did 2 layers like that, and this is between the second and the third layer, and here I've got a 400 sandpaper, and I'm just sanding it down where there's a little bit of residue still left there. And this is the last layer, and you can see that I'm using a lot less OSMO on this one. Leave that for 24 hours, and this is the end product. And it looks fantastic, it feels fantastic, and I'm really fond of the OSMO for its gentle sheen. It's not too shiny, it's not too matte. Thanks for watching.